taking our drugs. Caught us popping our disprin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness. For some unknown reason, we've got not great Wi-Fi today, and I'm actually plugged into the Ethernet, the cable too. So if we drop out, please know that we will come back on. It's all good. Who have we got on? We've got Zena. Hi, Jody Music. Hi, Irene. Hi, Sue from up Queensland way. How are ya, ghost sister? Hi, Barbara. Hi, Daniela. Yeah.
I'm sharing. I'm just on
working.
sharing.
She's doing her stuff. And if you guys could just take a moment to share the live feed as well somewhere, even if it's to your own page, that would be very much appreciated. We were going to do the normal this one. I'll just show you quickly, but it keeps getting blocked. So that one keeps getting blocked on YouTube for copyright, even though I did it through Canva and have paid the full fees for Canva. So I really liked that one. It was a little bit sad that we can't do it. So today, oh, thank you, Irene. Hi, Lisa. So there's a bit of a lag. Yeah, everyone's gone back to work maybe. I might just pop over there and see if my connection is completely plugged in. So I need to, over there, Renata. Excuse my butt. Yep, it's all plugged in. Obviously, the people at the interwebs office are having a slow day today.
They are doing road work up the road, so they may have, yeah.
All right. Hi, Jeff. How are you? One of our regular watchers, the goat. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Courtney. And thank you guys for taking the time to share this show. It costs you nothing, but it helps us out heaps. It's truly appreciated. So, Renata, how's your week been?
Yeah.
Since we saw you on your birthday. No, look, we were off last week. That's right. Sorry about that. We weren't on last week, and we did. I think we put a post up somewhere. It was Renata's birthday. So happy birthday for last week, Renata.
Oh, thank you.
And I took her away to a haunted hotel, as you do, because only as of last Monday, we were allowed to leave our zones because of the COVID restrictions. So, yeah. Oh, Jody, you're awake for live. Well done. Where are you from, Jody? You're England, aren't you? Let us know where you're all from, because we always get a bit of a buzz out of that. So how did we go? The hotel was an orphanage and a convent, or a nunnery, as I like to call it.
It was a convent with an orphanage attached, and then it became a school for a while, and then it closed down, and now it's a hotel.
Yeah. And did we get the action?
Yeah, we did.
We're not talking about us.
No,
we don't do that. We got husbands.
We did. We got a little bit of stuff happening. For me, it was a walk down memory lane. Although when you walk into these places after so many years, it's hardly recognizable, and that's really what I felt. It was. I didn't recognize most of it at all. But yeah, I went to school there for a year because my school closed down for renovations, and they made everyone go to this particular school for a year from that school that I was going to. And so I got to experience the energies of the place for a year. And I have to say, it frightened the crap out of me.
So good. You were, even back then, you had your gifts and you didn't quite know why you were feeling so overwhelmed with it all.
That's true.
So that's probably what was going on there. But it's nothing like giving someone a birthday present and finding out that somewhere that traumatizes them. Good on me. All right. Everyone's getting settled up and ready. My pronunciations of you have become more posh after listening so many times to Anne. Oh, I speak so beautifully. Now, for those who love the True Hauntings podcast, it is coming back. We've recorded all the episodes. The problem is with the producers, the people who put it together and edit it and spit and polish it, do the top and tails. They have had to build a new studio and they've had a few delays themselves. They've done a fabulous job, but it is coming back. So don't fear. We will be back, and our next episode is the Myrtles. So we're heading to New Orleans for our next one. So Renata, shall we get into this week's topic? What is it?
Vampire.
Vampires. I'm going to add this into the stream, see if it's still working. There we go.
Look, I did have a lot of fun with this one, and still things, every time you do a topic, even though you've done it before, there are things that come up that you haven't seen before or that you haven't heard about before. And my goodness, the True Hauntings podcast that we are recording today has opened up our eyes to a whole new load of information about some ghost hunters.
Load of bullshit, may I say.
Wow. But we are here and we are talking about vampires. So who is into vampires? Let us know. Put something in the comments and go, yeah, I love reading books about vampires. Or, wonder your husband is from New Orleans. Does that mean... Does that mean he has been touched by a vampire?
No, we're talking about I said the next one was Myrtles from New Orleans.
All right.
And you've got to say it, New Orleans. It's not New Orleans, it's New Orleans.
Oh, sorry.
I studied up. We were supposed to go there last year or year before. Can't remember now.
So if you love to read books about vampires, if you love the history of vampires, this particular little mini workshop is especially for you. Hello, David. Nice to see you. Love vampire literature. Yes, Daniela. Yeah, yes. Love my vamps. So we are talking today about the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness, the letter V for vampires.
And there's so many TV shows and series about the vampires. What was your favourite? What was your favourite TV show or movie or whatever it was on vampires? All right, you ready to go to your next one?
Yes.
Now I've hacked her because remember last time we presented you, Ryan, and it was my turn.
Yeah.
Finally, well, we're back to Renata because she does the best job with this stuff, but I've hacked it. You'll find out when.
Oh Lord. So there are many types of vampires in beliefs found all over the world. A vampire is either the living dead, a resurrected corpse, or the ghost of a corpse that leaves its grave at night and walks the world of the living to feed off them to survive. Ew. So in general, vampires hunt at night since sunlight weakens their powers. Some may have the ability to morph into a bat or a wolf. Vampires have super strength and often have a hypnotic, sensual effect on their victims. They can't see their image in a mirror and cast no shadows. Now, if you want to watch something that is really relevant right now about vampires, go to Netflix and sit down, chill out, and watch Midnight Mass. Now, I watched the first episode and got really sick of the whole Catholic part of it. But then I saw a critique about the show, and then I went,
Hi, Joshua.
I might just have to go and watch it again. And so I continued to watch it, and then we just sat and we watched the whole lot of it. But the interesting thing about it is how they changed the whole story of the Bible and Jesus and the
Don't give it all away. Don't give it all away.
And you went, what? This is unreal. I mean, like whoever thought up this story and went,
they're sick puppies.
They're a genius, an absolute genius. How they fixed it and put it in. Amazing.
Oh, sorry, we've got to go over to that. Now you can press your button.
She gives me a button, I can't press it. Some vampires, particularly in Eastern, Middle Eastern and tribal mythologies, are demons that attack at night and are associated with night terrors.
Hang on, let me get that comment off. I'm trying to switch through two different things here. You can press your button now.
Oh, thank you. So the legend of the restless souls. According to the Smithsonian, The word vampire actually comes from Slavic Europe. Yay, my ancestors. I don't know why my ancestors were so obsessed with vampires, other than a whole lot of things that the Slavic peoples were obsessed about, which I'm learning about more and more, which are intriguing.
Do you think it's because it gets so cold there that when they bury the bodies, they don't decompose for quite some time?
Could be.
And therefore, if they happen to dig them up, or they can't bury them, their body doesn't decompose. Anyway, go on.
Okay, so with predecessors to the word originating in the 10th century, this is where the word vampire comes in. I've got to read this quote because you've got the thing right in the middle.
I'm sorry.
Until their conversion to Christianity, which took place throughout the 7th to the 9th centuries, and we won't mention that because that's that ruined everything. We were good pagan people until then. Slavic people cremated their dead, believing that was the only way to free the soul from the body. Because of this, the new practice of burying the dead would have horrified some.
Ah, I'm on the money. There you go.
They began burying objects with the bodies or even covering graves with stones in hopes of appeasing the buried souls and keeping them from rising. Oh, my God.
Guess where I hacked it?
What would you get when you cross a vampire with sheep?
You're welcome. Hope it brought a smile to your day.
Right. Vampire superstition thrived in the Middle Ages, especially as the plague disseminated entire towns. The disease often left behind bleeding mouth lesions on its victims, which to the uneducated was a sure sign of vampirism. So you can see how at that stage, how little we knew about different diseases and things that were happening, and how they became very much associated with superstition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that there must be something very evil or demonic happening because, this particular disease that was, killing everyone was unstoppable. So, you could pray to God all you like. It didn't stop anything. So it must be demonic. It must be from the devil.
Yeah, of course. Because as they're saying, science and technology is magic.
Yes.
They don't explain, if they have no concept, like we turned up there with a cigarette lighter and flicked the switch and the light popped up, that would be magic. We'd probably be burned at the stake for being a witch or something.
Yeah.
So they have to view whatever it is through their eyes. Now, Joshua has just given us important information. Satan just jumped into Marlena's body today on Days of Our Lives.
Oh my God.
But had to let you know, I'm loving it. It's like the 90s or like, so she's been possessed again? Oh, poor Marlena. I think it's time they picked on some other person. Hi, Andrew.
And hi, Spells and Spirits, and our beautiful Christy.
I heard vampires start in Croatia, not Romania.
All through the Slavic land. So we have to remember, Joshua, that the middle of Europe, the map of the middle of Europe has changed a bazillion times. The borders have changed a bazillion times ever since that Slavic area came into being. And so it's very, very difficult to kind of pinpoint where all of this would have started and how it generated out, because of the changes in the map as these countries were taken over by other countries and then taken back. Even when I look at my own heritage, Polish heritage, if you look at the map of Poland and how it changed, it's probably now the smallest or one of the smallest it's ever been in the 400 or 500 year history of the mapping of the area. So if we just look at it as Central, Eastern and Western Europe, there you go.
All right, you ready for your next one?
Yes.
Your job now.
Sorry. The Slavic vampire cult contains many words for vampire with different shades of the meaning that refer to werewolves, revenants, demons that eat the sun and moon, humans who can shapeshift, certain kinds of witches, and monstrous sucking animals, as well as living corpses. So
monstrous sucking animals. We have them here. You know what they are? The Hexam mosquitoes.
that's true.
If you have ever seen them, they are they can get quite large, maybe to like the size of your back of your head. I'm not joking. They're massive. They're one bite of those, and you're left on the ground drained of blood.
That is true. That is true. In the Balkans, where a vampire cult flourished in the late Middle Ages.
That's his Tinder shop, by the way.
Yeah, I know. A vampire was suspected of infesting a graveyard when people reported seeing apparitions of the dead that pestered them and bit them, or sat on their chests and suffocated them at night.
Oh, poor old Andrew's been attacked by a vampire.
Of course.
A psychic
vampire.
There's quite a few of them around, let me
Yes.
tell you.
Absolutely. I can vouch for that.
And we've got Jody beforehand watched last night's video on replay, waiting for Andrew to say he's had vampire ancestors. Then Andrew, bless you, come in. But psychic vampires are a real thing.
They are.
They are, and they drain the life force out of you. Anyway,
if you would like us to do a mini workshop on psychic vampires, we are up for that, because we have done that a number of times.
Yeah. So that's the living. That's not.
Yes.
The vampires is in the living dead. This is the living vampires.
So vampires also were blamed
I
for
want one of these. I'm not going to use it.
invisible terrors that bothered people at night, and wasting diseases that brought death. A search of graves was made, and if a body was found seemingly incorrupt with signs of fresh blood on it, it was decreed a vampire and was dispatched by being dismembered, burned, or staked through the heart.
Let me move the notes onto the other side. We do that?
That's okay. Don't touch anything.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch
Get in trouble.
anything. What did I just do?
Hang on. There you go.
All right. You'll have to get rid of that.
Oh, I'm on Canva Live. How did we start that?
I pressed.
Oh, Renata's here.
Oh,
That's
my
all
God.
it takes.
Contemporary researchers have suggested premature burial as a natural explanation for the incorrupt corpse. It is more likely that normal decomposition conditions, perhaps medically unknown in earlier times, explain the vampire corpse. So, for example, it is normal for corpses to shift. This might give the appearance of life and movement when a coffin was opened. A corpse that is staked may emit noises interpreted as shrieks.
Oh, yes, this
simply
is true.
from air in the lungs being forced past the glottis. The fresh blood probably is the corpse's own blood, which often leaks from orifices. The shiny nail beds that earlier peoples took to be fresh fingernail growth probably are the underbeds that are exposed when the outer fingernails slough off.
Oh, slough off.
Slough off.
Slough? Slough?
Slough.
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 Bed.
It's naughty. Okay, I need to.
I don't know what you can't. Is it? Try that. There you go.
So there you go. There are that poor young fellow on the right hand side is just terrible, isn't it? So he would have probably been considered as being quite vampiric from the point of view of his facial hair and the discoloration of his skin. And yet, hi Madalena. And yet he was suffering from an illness, which we're going to go to in a minute when Anne goes back to the slides. It was uncommon for anyone with an unfamiliar physical or emotional illness to be labelled a vampire. It wasn't uncommon. I think that's what I said. Many researchers have pointed to porphyria, a blood disorder that can cause severe blisters on skin that's exposed to sunlight. As a disease that may have been likened to the vampire legend. Some symptoms of porphyria can be temporarily relieved.
Oh, sorry. I just pressed a button and it all jumped.
By ingesting blood. Oh my God! Other diseases blamed for promoting the vampire myth include rabies and goiter.
Wow. So
That's-
there's in all this myth.
There's always a seed of truth in all myths and
There
legends.
There is.
And here we go. Oh, here we go. Why does Dracula not have friends? He's such a pain in the neck.
You're welcome.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
Okay.
Susan's watching. Hi, Susan.
Western fiction and film have popularized the vampire as an entirely different creature, a glamorous and seductive living dead person who bites people, usually on the neck, to drink their blood. Is there more?
Nope.
Okay. So we're going to the story of Mercy Brown. So has anyone heard of Mercy Brown?
Oh, Danielle just put up there. Sorry. She's a super nerd, and we love her medical knowledge. Is that ingesting blood would have helped them with the iron intake?
Yes, that's true. That's true. So just keep it on that for a minute. I'll just go through this particular these particular notes. If you haven't heard of Mercy Brown and the story of Mercy Brown, I'll just read you all of this, and then we'll kind of go a little bit back into it when we go to the slides. But this is the whole story of it. In 1892, tuberculosis was the leading cause of death in the United States. It was then known as consumption, and its symptoms included fatigue, night sweats, and the coughing up of white phlegm or even foamy blood. The terror surrounding such a gruesome death helps explain the madness that befell the small town of Exeter, Rhode Island, at the end of the 19th century. Residents began to fear a vampire named Mercy Brown was causing consumption-related deaths in the town, even though she had already died from the same illness. It all started when a farmer named George Brown lost his wife, Mary Eliza, to tuberculosis in 1844.
This is on that TV show. On keep going, I'll think about it. Somebody might know what it is. It's on Stan or something like that. It's almost cartoon animated, but it's all stories about how legends start.
Law?
Mm-hmm. Is that what you said? I wasn't listening.
Law.
Yeah.
2 years after the death of his wife, his oldest daughter died of the same illness. It's amazing how we don't hear each other when we're sitting next to each other, but we hear each other really, really well when we're in a different house.
So I'm concentrating on different things. Yeah, sorry, Dan, we are having issues with the internet. I don't know why it's being such a pain in the butt, but it is. So my apologies for the issues that we are having there at the moment. I'm just going to see if I'll make sure that we are on Chrome, and I'm just going to shut some things in the background. Keep going.
Okay, so before long, tragedy would strike the Brown family again. As the family members died one by one, people began to suspect that the reason was something far more sinister. The rest of George Brown's family appeared to be in good health until his son Edwin became seriously ill in 1891. He retreated to Colorado Springs in the hopes that he would recover in the better climate. However, he returned to Exeter just a year later in even worse of a state. Within the same year, Edwin's sister, Mercy Lena Brown, died from tuberculosis when she was only 19 years old. And with Edwin deteriorating rapidly, his father began to grow increasingly desperate. So meanwhile, we have several well-meaning and concerned townspeople that tell George about an old folk tale. We all need people like this in the township, don't we? So the superstition claims that by some unexplained and unreasonable way, in some part of the deceased relative's body, live flesh and blood might be found, which is supposed to feed on the living who are feeble in health. Right. Basically, the myth claims that when members of the same family waste away from consumption, it might be because one of the deceased is draining the life force from their living relatives to come back to life. As a local newspaper reported, Mr. Brown did not place much credence in the old-time theory and resisted their importunities until Wednesday, when the bodies of his wife and 2 daughters were exhumed and an examination had under the direction of Harold Metcalfe, MD of Wickford. Indeed, on the morning of March 17, 1892, a doctor and some locals exhumed the bodies of each family member who had died of tuberculosis. They found skeletons in the graves of the Browns' wife and eldest daughter. However, the doctor found that the 9-week-old remains of Mercy Brown looked startlingly normal and undecayed. Furthermore, blood was found in Mercy Brown's heart and liver. This seemed to confirm the local fears that Mercy Brown was some kind of vampire who had been sucking the life from her living relatives. The doctor tried to explain to the townspeople that Mercy Brown's preserved state was not unusual. After all, she'd been buried during the cold winter months. Nevertheless, Superstition insisted on removing both her heart and liver and burning them before reburying her. So the townsfolk got together and said, she's a vampire. We need to remove her heart and liver and burn them, and then we can rebury her. Now, that's not the end of this, because the ashes were then mixed with water and fed to Edwin. Pardon me. Unfortunately, this supernatural concoction did not cure him as people had hoped. Edwin died a mere 2 months later. Such practices of digging up and burning the deceased over fears of vampire-like creatures were not uncommon in many Western countries until the early 20th century. So
early 20th century?
Early 20th century.
That's the 1900s.
Yes. While the Mercy Brown case was far from an isolated incident, her exhumation came at the end of an era from these vampire-inspired rituals. So if you go back to the slide.
I'll put the slide back up and Renata will put her phone on silent. Interesting story, though. Right. Let's get on to...
yep, that's it. Here is Mercy. Mercy Brown. That's what she looked like. So when Mercy's body was exhumed and didn't display severe decay, not surprising since her body was placed in an above-ground vault during a New England winter, the townspeople accused her of being a vampire and making her family sick from her icy grave. They cut out her heart, burnt it, then fed the ashes to her sick brother. Perhaps not surprisingly, he died shortly after.
Wow.
Oh. After George lost many family members, including Mercy in the late 1800s to tuberculosis, his community used Mercy as a scapegoat to explain their deaths. It was common at that time to blame several deaths in one family to the undead. The bodies of each dead family member were often exhumed and searched for signs of vampirism.
Horrible.
Wow. Yeah. How awful. Now,
here we go.
Matthew Beresford, author of From Demons to Dracula, The Creation of the Modern Vampire Myth, notes there are clear foundations for the vampire in the ancient world, and it is impossible to prove when the myth first arose. There are suggestions that the vampire was born out of sorcery in ancient Egypt, a demon summoned into this world from some other. There are many variations of vampires from around the world. There are Asian vampires, such as the Chinese Jiangxi, even spirits that attack people and drain their life energy. The blood-drinking, wrathful deities that appear in the Tibetan Book of the Dead and many others.
Well, very serious here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Wow. We need to lighten it up with a joke, I do believe.
Oh, okay. I met the child of a snowman and a vampire. He was suffering from a serious case of frostbite.
You're welcome. Are we liking the jokes? Give us a little bit of some hearts if you're enjoying the jokes.
No.
You want to see more Anne's jokes in Renata's presentation?
No.
Please let us know.
God. Oh.
Oh dear. Yeah, wasn't that cute? The vampire dog going, what the hell? I thought it was cute. Thank you, Sandra. You want to keep going?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Meanwhile, back to here.
Yes, thank you. Finding a vampire is not always easy. According to one Romanian legend, you'll need a 7-year-old boy and a white horse.
What?
The boy should be
I
dressed
think
in
I watched a
white.
video about that once.
Placed. I'm not going to even ask. The boy should be dressed in white, placed upon the horse, and the pair set loose in a graveyard at midday. Watch the horse wander around, and whichever grave is nearest the horse when it finally stops is a vampire's grave. Oh, really?
Oh, it must be where there's some grass for the horse to eat.
Well, that's right. It might just have something edible nearby.
Oh.
You take your pick. Wow. The legend of the
God.
Egyptians also had their share of vampire lore and bloodsuckers. The Egyptian goddess Sekhmet was known for her taste for blood, and according to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, if a certain part of the soul called the Ka didn't receive adequate offerings, it left the tomb to drink blood. Ooh. In China, vampires had long hooked claws and red eyes. In Chinese vampire legends, they were called the Qiangxi, which translates to corpse hopper.
Ooh, that's interesting. I remember when I was working at Q Station Manly, the guides there told us that there was a Chinese vampire creature that was hanging around. There was a place there at Q Station which was called Asiatics because, very embarrassedly, Australia had a white Australia policy. So if anyone came in from a ship that wasn't well, they would be placed into quarantine. And if you were Asian or dark skinned, you were placed into your own horrible quarters. Didn't matter if you had a first class ticket, because Australians were dickheads at that stage. They popped you down there and they said that there was a Chinese vampire. And to avoid having your energy siphoned off, because they were finding people walking past this site and were then becoming totally drained and exhausted, they said you had to hold your breath as you walked past.
Mm. Isn't that interesting, though, that having done some work at Q Station Manly and then talking about the wraith that lives there, associated with the Asiatics part, that story and that mythology from China really makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Very interesting.
Hi, Dan. How are you? Just saying hello to the people that are coming on. Hey, Faye, how are you? Do you believe in an energy vampire, psychic vampire experience in modern day interaction with people? Yes, absolutely, because they rely on you to give them energy, and they will drain you from you trying to give them what they need, and they don't even realize they're doing it sometimes.
Oh, they do.
You reckon?
Do. But the thing here is that it's often not with permission, and you actually do, and this is a whole new topic. This is a whole different. We can actually talk about this topic once we finish this. You cannot pull away from it. That's the thing, because they know how to keep talking to you, so that you can't disengage.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
Oh, okay.
The legend of the Akimu, a Sumerian and Babylonian myth dating from 4000 BC, describes an Akimu, a spirit that isn't buried properly, that returns to suck the life from the living. So here we go with myths and legends that are very, very old. Everything came from the Babylonians. Now, the legend of the rising dead throughout northwest Europe, stones called dolmens were placed over graves. Some historians believe they were there to prevent the dead from rising or evil spirits from escaping. The legend of the vampires of the plague during the 16th century, it was believed that vampires fed off the bodies of plague victims and that female vampires spread the plague.
Oh, of course, let's blame the women.
So they often would bury vampires. There would bury people who they believed were those that were vampires with rocks and things in their mouth. They'd break their bones, or they would dismember them, and they would place their skeletal parts in different spots so that their body couldn't come together and move out of the gravesite. So the legend of the after devourers, vampire legends in the 16th century in Germany differed somewhat from more familiar stories about the dead rising. In northern Germany, the superstitious called vampires the Nachseher.
Oh, God, you said that well.
I studied German for 2 years.
There was a bit of phlegm that came up with that one.
The after devourers, because they never left their graves, but instead gnawed on their burial shrouds. This belief was because the posthumous release of bodily fluids would make the shrouds wilt and fray like they had been chewed. Oh. Okay. Oh, what is Dracula's favorite coffee order? Oh no, decaffeinated. Oh,
you're welcome.
God. Oh.
Anyway,
okay.
I didn't realise she had notes down the side of that one.
Instead, modern vampires get their sustenance from inch-long incisions made by a sterilised scalpel on a fleshy part of the body that doesn't scar. Though the vampire may suck it up directly from the source, medically trained personnel usually perform the procedure.
Ooh.
There's paperwork to donors don't just have to consent, but also provide health certificates proving the absence of born blood or blood-borne diseases. Still, feeding is a sensual and sacred ritual. The people who claim to be vampires are in the thousands worldwide, with demographics transcending borders, class, race, and gender. And increasingly, researchers study them. So why? Why would you want to? And lo and behold, in America, we have...
Oh, Atlanta has everything. You can tap the button now.
The Atlanta Vampire Alliance.
There you go. See, they've got taps as well, which is, isn't that the Atlanta Paranormal Society? I don't know. I could be wrong.
Myrticus has identified as a real vampire since 1997 and speaks eloquently and passionately about what vampirism is and what it is not. Not a cult, a religion, a dangerous practice, a paraphilia, an offshoot of the BDSM community, a community of disillusioned teenagers, and definitely not what's depicted in fictional books, movies, and television. An antique dealer by profession, married with 2 dogs, that's just normalizing him. He's one of exceptionally few vampires to be open about his identity. I hide in plain sight, he explains. For almost a decade, he has personally worked with academics, social scientists, psychologists, lawyers, law enforcement agencies, and others on how to best approach research and understand the vampire subculture.
That is fascinating. But I love that he is actually working with people to help understand what he considers vampirism to be. I think that's wonderful.
So we're people you pass on the street and likely socialise on a daily basis, says Myrticus, the 37-year-old founding member of Atlanta's Vampire Alliance. We often keep this aspect of our life secret for fear we will be misunderstood and to safeguard against reprisals from the society that deems it taboo. So, mentioning some of my sources there, just a few.
I thought you just pulled it out of your butt.
And that is the end of that. Thank you for joining us. And before we move on to discussion, a reminder, you can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, True Hauntings Podcast, and of course on Anne and Renata on Facebook.
Oh, hi Jeremy, how are ya?
Did you like the presentation on vampires? Oh, I could have gone on forever. There was so much information, I could have gone forever.
And can I say there were so many jokes I could have added in as well.
Yeah, thank you for keeping it down to 3.
Yep, I did well.
Yeah.
Any questions, anyone? Sauce. It's only about 10 minutes from me. No worries. All right. So, this is where you get the chance now to ask us.
Sue Maureen.
Oh, see, Sue's one of my people there. She's got the jokes. And Dan, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. You love watching shows about vampires. Oh, Deborah Ann, it's because of the time change. We're on daylight savings time. People in America, do you finish daylight savings at the start of November? Is that correct? We're just trying to make sure we don't get our times wrong. So we'll just get all that sorted. And we're getting ready for our 4-hour special on our radio show, which is the Supernatural Sundays on Newcastle Live Radio. Oh, Sue.
Stop it. Just stop it, Sue.
We could say it was bloody good.
Don't encourage.
So, yes, and we've just confirmed we've got Sean Porter from Ghost Stop who's coming on with some really good little ghostly tips for Halloween.
Ooh.
And we've got Patrick Keller from The Big Seance coming on. We've got Charmaine from Tasmania's Most Haunted coming on. Deborah Ann, we were talking about that earlier.
Yes.
The wow. That's such... She, as Renata was saying, she started to watch it and it was too much Catholicism. She wasn't coping with it and it triggered her. But then when the plot twist kicked in and we found out the different interpretation through the eyes of this priest, it was like, oh, yeah. So does anyone have any paranormal questions for us? We can always dig out our cards.
And we did start on the topic of psychic vampires. And I'm wondering whether all of you have heard of that terminology used of a psychic vampire. And let me tell you, there are many psychics and mediums that are psychic vampires as well. Not just people who have got nothing to do with the paranormal. And they are still psychic vampires.
So Zena's got a question there. Where does the blood and feasting come from with vampires? Do you mean that once they start to feed, it's that whole, they can't stop and it's overwhelming? Is that what you're referring to? Or I'm not quite sure what that one means. Just give us a little bit more information on that one. Yeah, Joshua has a few more in their life. Yeah, Chapelwaite. I have watched a couple of episodes of that one. It hasn't grabbed me enough to watch more. I need to get back to it. I think it will improve. Once again, sorry if there's any issues with the internet. We don't know what is happening today. But yeah, we've got some roadworks going on down the road, so maybe there's something happening there. All right, so Daniela, hang on. Jody would love to know more about psychic vampires.
I think we can do a full workshop on that. Maybe when we get through the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness, we'll deal with psychic vampires. But literally, you're talking about the same phenomenon. They don't drink blood. They just literally suck your energy dry. And we all know one. Look, let's face the facts. We all know one. We know that when someone turns up at our doorstep, or we go to a meeting or somewhere where there's a group of people, and there's that one person that you see and you go, oh no, they're here. Oh. And you already feel the energy draining from your body, even if you are not close to them, because what you have experienced with them is this connectedness where they will literally feel as though they are pulling the last shreds of decency and faith and your ability to survive out of your body as you stand there and listen to them. And these are people who, and as Anne said, sometimes they don't know that they're doing it, although the disappearance of people around them should give them a good cue as to they're doing something wrong. But they tend to be very much those types of people where the world is against them in any way, shape or form. There is just nothing in their life that sustains them. or they give the impression that nothing in their life sustains them. Nothing. They have nothing that gives them energy. And so they're continually searching for someone to boost them or to give them that willingness of self and soul to say, I am here for you, and I will support you, and I will care for you, and you are the center of my world and attention. And that is a very, very draining place to be from the perspective of energy. Yeah.
And there's also completely the opposite of that. There are some people that can come into your life and fill you with good energy because they themselves are so vibrant, and it doesn't drain that person because I don't understand how it works, but they can give you energy and sustain you. I know that when I used to work in aged care, I used to run music things, and I would be absolutely exhausted for the day. I would have to go in. I'm thinking, how am I going to give these people my joy when I'm so exhausted myself? And then I would turn up and I would start giving them that joy. And half the time I'd have to start by faking it just so I could get into the zone, and then they would give it back to me.
Yeah.
They were having so much fun themselves that then had almost like a cycle of re-energizing me.
Yeah.
Hi, Andrew. Welcome to the show. All right, so what we need to do now is we are going to take some, for those who have just joined us, thank you to the people who joined us on the Paranormal United Network. We had a bit of a surge happen there. Welcome, guys. This is where you all get to ask your question for Renata. So we ask that it's no health questions like, is my medical treatment going to cure me of cancer? Because we can't do that with one card. And it's way too personal thing to be putting out there and to be asking tarot about. And the other thing is we ask not super personal relationship questions like, is my husband or partner cheating on me? Yeah. Oh no, hopefully we've unfrozen. Yep, it's better again. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with the internet. Right, so who's got a question? We're excited here because we're finally coming out of lockdown. We're starting to plan our overseas trips. We're going to be heading to America in April next year, and we're heading over to the East Coast. All right, we've got Andrew who wants to know, will me and the ex get back together? They're not asking should they leave each other.
Someone wasn't listening. But
No, this one's okay. That's okay.
Andrew, the question is, do you want to? Do you want to? And anyone that does tarot reading properly should be considered an advisor, not someone that reaches into the future and tells you your future. So I'm an advisor. I can tell you the likelihood of things repeating or new things happening if you are willing to take them on. I cannot guarantee something is going to happen, because the moment you are offered new knowledge, you change your perspective if it speaks to your soul. And this particular card here that comes to you is the Knight of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles offers you some information, Andrew. And the information is, think better of yourself and of what you have to offer, and be aware that you do have things to offer, and that what you offer isn't just financial. So if the X is just about safety and security as to what you can offer, as in a roof over your head and a car and work, then probably it's not the best thing to go back to, because there is more that you can offer, not just the financial side of the security of being back in the marital home or within a marriage. So I hope that speaks to you. And that's my intention in always reading tarot, in advising you of what differences can be made and of what things are likely to reappear if you go back to the old ways of being.
Apparently, our image is a bit blurry as well. Again, I apologise for the internet. I have no idea what's going on, apart from there is some works going on outside at the moment that may be interfering. Sandra, hello, Sandra. How are you? Any message from my grandfather Norman, please?
Grandfather Norman for Sandra. Okay. Okay. Right. Your grandfather Norman, Sandra, is always there when things are going to change for you, and things are going to change for you very, very shortly.
Ooh.
But Sandra, you're not really good with change. Believe me, none of us are. But this is change that's probably been expected, and you've just brushed it off and gone, I'm not going to think about that because I don't like change, so I'm just going to keep going. And Norman sits there and goes, Sandra, how many times do I have to tell you, you have to get a grip on this and change things? So he's here again going, Sandra, can you learn your lesson and just get on with it, please? And stop ignoring the change that needs to be made.
All right. Joshua, do you do dates for travel or seek numerological? So I despise flying. I would say that you need to do some work on your fear of flying.
Absolutely, Joshua.
So that's what needs to happen more than seeking the numerological dates.
Yeah.
You've got to work on that fear.
We can be too dependent on astrological signs and spiritual signs. And what that does is it takes away our empowerment. So from the point of view of disempowering people, anything that is obsessive to the point of I can't do anything without looking at my cards first becomes an obsession, and it completely disempowers your sense of being able to listen to your own gut instincts and to kind of get into a place where you feel, you know what, I'm pretty cluey. I can work these things out. So don't over obsess about these things, because you are already creating a strategy that for failure in everything that you do. If you have to obsess, and I'm not saying it's you, I'm just saying generally, if you have to obsess with information that's garnered from somewhere else.
Rightio. And Andrew said, thank you. We'll go back up to Daniela, who said, is what is promised going to happen?
Okay. Okay, don't wait for it, Daniela. Don't wait for it. And look, I'm wondering what it's triggering for you at the moment as well, because if you've come from a lifetime of promises that haven't been kind of come to fruition, then it's triggering you on a whole lot of levels. So what I would say to you is don't wait for it to happen. Continue doing what you're doing. And if it happens, then say, that was awesome. If it doesn't happen, you haven't stopped your life waiting for it to. I think there was someone there asking you whether they're on the right path.
Yeah, I'll get Jody. I hope to, because I had an invitation from a friend who's asked me to come and visit them on their property. And we are going to move heaven and earth, or whatever it is you believe in, to get to visit him. And my friend's name is Bill Chappell. So he's actually asked us to come and stay on his new property and hang out for a bit. So it's in Colorado. So, yeah, I'm not sure when, but we'll definitely be going.
Okay, Beth. Am I on track for my path? And for that, Beth, you got the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups here, whoop, wrong side, is responsible for her own well-being and happiness. So you have to do the work in really looking at whether you're happy at the moment and whether it's sort of singing to your soul and you feel as though the direction you're going for is the absolute right direction. And if it's still what you want, my suggestion is work harder.
I put it on full screen. It threw off. And Andrew said, "Love you guys. So genuine and wise advice. Come to Melbourne sometime." We will. Hell yeah. With bells and whistles on. Do a spooky tour here. Oh, look, we are going out to Old Geelong Jail to actually run a workshop on a Sunday, and we'll be doing a tour with the guys there that night. So we love Deb and her crew down there. So we are coming. It's just we need to know when we can fly, and we don't like to go anywhere where it's too hot. We're a bit precious when it comes to that sort of stuff, aren't we? So, Andrew, we're coming. Make sure you join us on our Facebook pages or subscribe to YouTube and hit the bell so you get the notifications of what's happening. But it's Anne and Renata Frightfully Good, or you can join the Anne and Renata Frightfully Good group, whatever. And all of you are welcome to come and join us on those pages. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Thank you, Renata, for your presentation on vampires. Hope you've all enjoyed my crappy jokes. And we will be back next week. We're on VUUVW.
I think we'll be talking about wraiths.
Oh, wraiths.
Wraiths.
Banff. Anyway. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, you have to look up the True Hauntings episode called Banff, BANFF, in Canada. I'll put it there, BANFF, and it's on the True Haunting. True Hauntings podcast.
Should be the last one that's up.
Yeah, if you like our sense of humour, guys, listen to the True Hauntings podcast.
And if you really like our sense of humour, listen to the Vatican one.
It's a little bit naughty. Anyway, love yous all. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on
The Dark Side.
Bye.